All right, welcome to the Friday Night Mix Show. It is your boy Fola, and it is your girl Lami. Lami, your screen is looking so delicious, so delicious.
Don't play, don't play, don't
Ah,
play.
ah, hey. Nice, nice, nice. Honestly, you are stepping up the game. Even me, I'm now becoming jealous. I'm jealous seeing you now. How was your week?
It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And
Mm.
if you ask me for the news, there was a rate cut. Everybody knows that now. So
Yes,
it's like
yes, I saw that too.
you saw that, eh? Like exciting news.
Yeah, and I heard there probably will still be more cuts coming down pretty soon. So it's a good time to kind of join the bandwagon of homeowners, and you know who to reach out to as soon as you need to get a house, right? It
But you
is
know
your
what? There's the
Hmm.
caveat there. People have to understand
Okay.
that this rate cut
Hmm.
was the prime rate or the Bank of Canada rate that was cut. It usually does not affect,
Perfect.
it's not what determines the rate for fixed mortgages,
I get.
right? It doesn't, it's not what determines the rate for fixed mortgages. This is what affects your variable rates. So like your lines of credit, if you're on a variable mortgage on your that kind of stuff, then
Hmm.
this will definitely mean a reduction in what you're paying in interest rate. But if you're on a fixed rate,
Hmm.
it doesn't necessarily, this is not necessarily what impacts fixed rate. So people have to kind of understand that, because everyone's thinking, but rate has reduced now, so let me go back to my bank. No, not
No,
exactly.
it hasn't reduced. It hasn't reduced, but hopefully it will reduce very soon,
Yes,
and we would be having lower interest rate for, especially for mortgage, car ownership, whatever, investment and all of that.
that's correct.
And yeah, if you're live on the show right now, make sure that you're liking, you're sharing, you're leaving a comment. We're still gonna bring back our guest from 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
because I mean there was too much to glean from that powerful lady than to just let her go in just one show. It's just not possible.
I agree.
So make sure that you're calling somebody that is calling somebody and telling them that there's a lot to learn tonight. If you join the Friday Night Mix Show. So any other thing in the news apart from the rate cuts? Or that's the only thing that concerns you.
Yoruba used to say something. They
Mm,
say it's the thing
mm.
that pay you the most that is usually inside your agbada. I don't know
Uh,
what
you-
agbada is in English. So really, I guess it was a long time coming. There's been speculation,
yeah.
people. So when it finally happened, I tell you what, I woke up to one of my clients telling me they've cut the rate. He's in Toronto, so it's like they've cut the
They
rate.
cut
I'm
the
like,
rate.
okay, I'm just waiting.
No, they didn't cut the rate. It's still the rate is still the same. Just so you know, but just that usually would encourage private lenders also to like kind of want to reduce and just get better rates, just like you've explained earlier.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's nothing in the news, we always have a lot to cover on the show, and that's why I don't think it's too early to bring in our guest so
No.
that we can begin to have that conversation that we did last week. And I mean, we already introduced her last week, but in case you did not hear that introduction, listen, ladies and gentlemen, she is the founder and executive director of Ruth House. It's an emergency shelter and resource center for immigrant families that are experiencing domestic violence. She's a pastor. She's married. She's gotten over 7,000 calls in 2 years that Roots House was
Yeah.
created for assistance. And if you need to visit their website, it is www.rootshouse.ca. Ladies and gentlemen, if your ends are not busy virtually, please help me make welcome Pastor Dee Adekugbe. Woo! Welcome back on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you back on the show. So 2 weeks ago when we were talking, we didn't get to really. I mean, we talked about, you know, we actually did talk about the domestic violence, but we didn't talk about prevention, and we didn't talk about
She got into it a
rehabilitation.
little bit, because she didn't want to leave us hanging. She got into
Mm,
it a little bit. We talked about having community, which is very, very important, and that what you're supposed to do if you are, you have somebody going through that,
mm,
don't judge them. Just let them know that there's always room, you're always there. And
mm.
watch your words, watch what you say. Like don't say you'll be back when you come back. Like I know
You
for
will be
sure you
there.
will come back, which was really fantastic. But we really want to go into it, a lot more today because it's really important. Yeah.
That's correct. So, I mean, and that. Thank you for coming back, ma'am, because we need to talk about this. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people are going through domestic violence. Africans that probably like, I'm in the Western world. I don't have help, right? But no, you actually do have help, and you can reach out to people like Pastor D to talk about that. All right, so let's take it from the prevention part of it,
Right. Right.
right? What's the best way to prevent domestic? And this happens to men too. Just so you don't think it's only
Yes.
only women. You talked about it last
Yes.
2 weeks, fortnight that you were here on the show. So as a man, as a woman going through domestic violence at home, in your house, in your home here in Calgary, here in Canada, what are the ways to prevent that as a person? Is there any prevention for dummies? One or two things that you can just look into, and if you're going through that process, that you can actually use to prevent yourself from actually going through that process.
First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show again. I thought I was just coming once, but I thank you for the second opportunity. And that I have to kind of like just put something out there. There is a difference between prevention and intervention.
Right.
Mm,
Prevention is to prevent something before it
that
happens.
happens.
And then intervention is to intervene in something that is happening.
Mm,
So we can talk about both tonight. And first of all, in the areas of preventions, there
mm,
is a lot of things we can do to prevent ourselves from getting to that place where we turn to violence, where
mm,
we can. There's a lot of things we can do to prevent ourselves from using, sexual violence, physical violence, emotional abuse, all kinds of abuse against somebody that you profess that you love.
mm,
Now, we're not, when we talk about domestic violence, we're not talking about people, strangers. We're talking about within the family, domestic, within
mm,
the home. So these are people you love, you care about.
mm,
Yeah. So that's what we're referring to as domestic violence. People that you profess that till death do us part, in sickness and in health. All the days of my life, they give me goosebumps, loving.
mm,
These are children that you carried for 9 months. These are children
mm,
that you fathered. These are parents that gave birth to you. So we're talking about the whole family. Domestic abuse happens between
Somebody that
parents
you
and child.
profess that you love.
Okay.
mm,
It
Now,
happens between parents and child. It happens between siblings.
Domestic abuse
It
happens
happens.
somebody that you profess that you love.
Can you hear me okay?
Between siblings, domestic abuse happens somebody that you profess,
Feedback.
somebody that you profess.
I can hear
that you love.
feedbacks.
mm, mm.
So did you fix it?
Is it good now?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, so it's between parents and children, child and parents, between siblings, between partners, it's anybody within the family context that
Mm,
we're talking about domestic abuse.
Right.
And so what, just so that we have that clear understanding. And so when we talk about prevention, how do I prevent myself from abusing somebody that I say I love,
mm,
that I say I care about? How do I prevent myself from, and so the first thing you really have to understand is this. My issues are not against the person.
mm,
Separate the person from the issue. You're having financial issues. You're having financial difficulties. It doesn't mean that you now start abusing somebody in the home because
mm,
of the financial issues. So you have to be able to separate and say, I love this person, but we have a problem. That makes sense. I care about this individual, but we have a problem. This person is not your enemy. The issue is your enemy. So being able to, separate the problem from the person that you think is the cause of your problem. And then the second thing we have to, to prevent ourselves from getting to that place is we must learn to, before anything escalates, nip it in the bud. Don't wait until and just say, "Oh, it's okay. It's not that bad yet. It's not that big of a deal right now. This is, we can manage it." Our community likes to sweep things under the carpet. They like to cover everything in prayer. They like to say, cover everything with cliches, with Christianese or whatever language. It is well, all is well, God is in control, it will be better, positive thinking, positive talks. Those are fantastic, but they are not. Eventually what's going to happen is you're going to need intervention if you don't address something before it escalates.
Right.
Somebody said, we had a webinar a while back, and somebody said the officer that was speaking, the police officer said, if you have to call us to your home, you shouldn't be in that home. Why do you need a police officer to come and intervene in your family? That means there's something fundamentally wrong in that family. That you need a police officer to come.
Right.
So we need to deal with things before they escalate, which means taking care of the foundations. We're fighting a lot, that we need help. We're arguing a lot. We're having all of these little things. Cut it off, deal with it so that it doesn't get to the place of intervention. So the third thing you need for prevention is surround yourself with positivity, positive people, positive energy, positive environment, things that will help you to address situations. These are part of the things that we need so that we don't get to the place of intervention. If I'm already feeling somehow, I want to be in a positive environment, in a positive community that will help me through it, not take a negative one that will say, I knew it from day one. I knew this person. All men are the same. All women are the same. And they fuel things for you. So you've got to, if you're having problems, shift the environment. Come out of environments that are going to, add more kerosene to the fire for you.
Right.
That will now lead you to that place of intervention rather than staying in the place of prevention. I want to just, I hope those three things make sense to you at the moment.
It absolutely does. And I just want to, zero in on something. I love what you said. And I think you addressed two things: the assailant and the victim, if you will, if I could use those two words. So for the assailant, you're saying deal with the issue.
Yes.
The partner is not your enemy. So to speak, it's you and them against the world, not you against them, as long as you understand that, and then you talked about the person who is a victim, you want to make sure you have a community. And then you also address people in that community that's supposed to be the support, which is threefold. So I feel like a lot of things happened in that convo. So we want to maybe break it down just a little bit, and maybe start with the victim here, male and female. Yeah, unfortunately, it probably happens more to female than to male, but still, we get it from both genders. How do you check for red flags? We're talking prevention before, what happens, because I had a mentor who would say something. You said, you teach people how to treat you. So as the victim, before you become a victim, really, You know, what do I look out for? I'm in a relationship with a guy, and you know, how do I know he's manipulating me? You know, people who they won't apologize for something. You know, they'll go, "It's your fault." Maybe if you had not said what you said, I would not have been angry. You know,
Yeah,
all
I
this
would not
kind of
slap
stuff.
you. Mm,
You know, and
mm.
before they say a lot of things, they want to shout you down. You know, what do I look
Yes.
out for before I get into the situation where I have to start to prevent before I even intervene and all that important stuff? So please,
I
let's
think,
talk about that.
I will give you, a few things, I'll give you three because I don't want to take too much of our time and everything. There is always red flags.
Hmm.
What we do is rather than thinking about those red flags, paying attention to it, we cover it up. Oh, he loves me.
Hmm.
She loves me. He's good. I can, because he's good, I can manage that. We have this thing about in our community. When we get married, he will change. She will change. I will change them. Things will get better when we do this. When we leave Nigeria and come to Canada, things will get better. When he gets a job, things will get better. We make excuses for bad behaviors. And we think that just simply by changing an environment is going to change somebody. What it does is, you can change an environment, but you cannot change a person. Eventually that person's character is going to come out. You can only muffle it for a period of time. You can only hide somebody's true colors for a period of time. Eventually you're going to see the real person. So what are the things you should look for? Let me give you three. When somebody keeps criticizing everything you do, criticism. Oh, this rice is good, but it's just always salty. But I love you, Sha. Little criticism starts from somewhere.
The sandwich approach.
Well, you understand? They criticize you, and then they say something to make you feel better. I'm like, hold on, I don't get this.
What just happened?
Yeah. But before you know it, it goes up a notch.
Right.
Why are you always cooking, putting too much salt in it? Then what's wrong with you? Can't you cook?
Okay.
It escalates.
Hmm.
But then you begin to justify. Maybe I don't know why.
Maybe you add a little less salt.
Another thing is they criticize the way you look. I know somebody, the person was like, I love slim girls, but the girl you're dating is overweight.
That's subtle, subtle, letting you know
All
that.
right.
Also, but you understand, and the person is telling you, sweetie, you need to be coming to the gym with me. You need to get into shape. You need to do this. You would look better in this if you do this. When they want to
That's
start
wrong in
changing,
itself, encouraging your partner to be healthy and look good.
there's ways that people do it, that they try to modify you and thinking that they're helping you. I love you I love you in, red is your color. You need to start wearing red more. You need to start doing your hair more. But I don't like my hair like that. But I like it. And don't you want to do it for me? Don't you think, when
Wahala.
when they start trying to modify you and change you, my darling, you need to run. Because they're already thinking that you are a project that they need to shape and mold and conform to
Or a
what
product.
they want.
Mm.
And when somebody starts wanting to change you, you are never going to be happy. Because the day you fail, yeah, and if they keep telling you, okay, get on the scale, you look a little bit chubby. What's going on? When somebody criticizes the way you look, you have a problem. When somebody is uncomfortable with your personality, You know, I
Right.
love you, but can you just you talk too much. You're too loud. You know, you know, I love you, but just tone it down a bit.
Mm.
The way God made you, you were made in God's image. It's not anybody's job to change you. And if
Mm.
you don't notice all of these little red flags, and you're thinking that when we marry, you know, he will change, or or you start justifying it that it's my fault.
Right. Right. Mm.
All you're doing is setting yourself up for a long time, you know, you know, a long road of pure abuse, because they will never be satisfied with just the way you look. Then it's going to be your relationships, your friends, it's going to be your career, it's going to be so many different things. So all of these little flags that we see, my wife makes more money, this girl makes more money than me, ah, you know, and they're uncomfortable about it. Be careful. Don't just don't just ignore things because you're in love. It's not
Love
love.
is blind.
Everybody love. I love you is why I slap you.
Until the love is blind to give you blue in your eye and you become blind.
Uh, you I hope that makes sense.
It
It
does.
does.
It
Absolutely.
does. Let's talk a little bit about rehabilitation, right?
Mhm.
Like, because in our community, people don't want to talk about the issues they're going through. I mean, I've noticed that it has to get to that extreme before you see people coming out like, "Oh, my husband wants to kill me," and then they try to get out from there. What would you advise people who are already in this situation right now, going through abuse, and they just need to reach out to somebody? What would you advise them to do
I think everybody owes it up to that. You know, you own it to yourself to get help.
to survive?
You have to. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody knows what goes on in your home until you open the door to your home. Yeah. You know, nobody knows what is happening because we can hide it behind makeup, we can hide it behind success, you know, we can hide it behind so many things. But
Right.
until you open up and ask for help and stop justifying things, you will never get help. And so, one of the things that I always say to people is you have to choose yourself over your abuser, you know. And as a pastor, I tell people this, and this is because I'm a pastor and I'm a Christian. Jesus Christ was beaten for you, 39 stripes. You don't need to take any beatings from anybody.
Word.
And Jesus Christ died for you. You don't need to die for nobody.
Nice.
Mm.
You know,
Nice.
he was abused for you. So you are not Christ that you need to be abused by somebody.
Someone else.
If your name was Christina, you still don't have to die for nobody.
No, one person did it all. So
Or
when
Christian.
somebody uses you as a punching bag,
Mm.
they have just lowered your value.
Tell me about it.
When
Mm.
somebody uses words, you know, to break you, to bring you down, they have just lowered your value. And the more you allow them to sexually abuse you, verbally
Mm.
abuse you, emotionally abuse you, physically abuse you, financially or spiritually abuse you, what
Wow.
you've done is say, here is my life, do with you whatever you want.
Yes.
Mm.
You've given them power over your life.
Right.
And everybody is human being like you. They're not
Mm.
God for them to take your life. Take control over your life, because before you met them, you had a life.
You're a human being. Mm.
Nice. Nice.
So you can have a life again after them. So take control of your life. Do not give it to somebody else. And the control starts by picking up a phone and saying, Lami, Fola, I need help. Can I come stay with you for a while?
Mm. And just to chip in also, and
Right.
if you hear something like that from a friend, who is never even giving you any inclination that they were having issues before, I think the best thing is not to even ask questions. Just tell them yes.
Mm.
Am I correct?
Oh, are we still on? Yeah.
We're still on. He
Oh,
does
what?
that. His computer does that.
I think, when somebody is in crisis, and I
Mm,
need to tell you both, Fola and Lami, if you
mm,
notice somebody's going through something,
true issues.
don't question them.
Mm,
Just say, hey, I don't know what's going on. I'm not here to ask questions, but if you need me, I'm here. No questions asked.
Mm.
And just making yourself available to somebody that you see is
mm,
going through challenges is the biggest thing. And when somebody comes to you that says, my partner is abusing me, my mom is
mm,
abusing me, my dad is abusing me, my child is abusing me, whoever's, listen to them and
mm,
don't say, and your husband's such a nice man. What did
mm,
you do?
mm,
Don't ask the question, what did you do?
mm. We are
It's,
prone to doing that actually. I think as Africans, we always think the problem is the person that is reporting the situation to you. Like, you must have, your husband looks so nice. He must have done
Mm.
something to
And he's
make
a calm guy, oh. And
He's
he's
a,
a calm guy.
well,
Mm.
it's a facade. That's what he
Mm.
wants you to see, or that's what she wants you to see outside, right?
Mm.
I mean, let's just move on because I'm like, what? We're already 26 into the 20th minute into the
It's you,
Jesus
Bola.
Christ. All right. So this question is for you, ma'am. Well, it's only for you. I don't have a question for you. What are your biggest challenges that you found doing this job? What are the
Right.
biggest challenges that you
Right.
found?
the biggest challenge I find during this job is our people using scripture to
Mm.
keep people in bondage.
Perpetual subjection.
Yeah, keeping people in abusive relationships. As a pastor,
Mm.
I've been a pastor for almost 30 years. So
Mm.
I'm not a novice. I'm not. And like I said earlier on, Jesus Christ already did all the work. So for you to, when somebody comes to you and they say they're in problem, and you, as you're quoting scriptures to them and trying to tell them to just, you know, submit, I have a
Mm.
problem with that.
Mm.
Second challenge, or
Mm.
my second challenge, is you, Fola or Lami or anybody, telling somebody to stay in an abusive relationship for the sake of the children.
Mm.
That is called child abuse. It's called child abuse. So
Mm.
using, spiritualizing everything, convincing people to stay in relationships because of the children, it's child abuse. Spiritual abuse, child abuse. And the third one is justifying the abuser and causing more trauma for the victim,
Mm.
shaming them, blaming them. And that girl is such a nice girl. Are you sure you're not doing anything to you understand?
Yeah.
Blaming the victim. Those are the three things that I find very challenging with the work that we do. And
Mm.
having to educate people that stop using scripture, stop telling people to suffer in silence for the sake of the children, and stop telling people that they did something wrong. Because it makes it harder for us to come in and help that person, because now we have to go through, we have to go through faith, we have to go through children, and we have to go through the friends. My friend said this, my parent says this for the children, my pastor said this. We now have to come against all those three things to keep the person safe.
It's tough. I
Lami.
remember one time I had someone close had this. It wasn't a physical abuse kind of situation. It was more, how little disagreements escalated, and
Mm.
something that could have potentially been bad. Like everybody was upset. Somehow the pastor got involved, and you know how we do. When we're people of faith, like we are, the man would talk to the man, and the woman pastor would talk to the
woman.
And then the first thing she said to my friend was, "Sister, what happened? A wise woman builds her house." Hey, as in, like my as in you, I don't even know where to start, and for the life of me, because when I heard it, of course, the parties to blame on every side.
Yeah.
But laying it at the feet of the woman, it's, we do that a lot. We do it where we come from. We do it a lot. Somehow it's a wise
It's the
woman,
woman's fault.
just like Leah and Rachel build the house of our father Israel. Like, seriously, like, did we look at the house of our father Israel? Our father Israel, not their house have problem. Let us just say that one, because it was quite something, but like you said, we're spiritual. And where do you come from? When somebody say God said I should stay, how am I supposed to say God said it? Do you understand? Who am I to say God? It can really tie not just the arms of the person trying to help, the person who needs the help. Because once you spiritualize it somehow, put it in a context, that spiritual Christian context, then it becomes harder. It's a very big envelope. It's a very big web.
You can't win.
You're fighting God. You're going into a boxing ring with God. So you're like, oh, well, if God says, then who am I to come against God?
And God is just there, like, I did not say anything. I did not say anything.
When I wasn't even there when it happened.
I think one of the things we have to really reiterate to our community is this: we are a people of faith, we are a people of family, we are a people of community. Those are the three values that Ruth's house has.
Right.
Our values are faith, family, and community.
Beautiful.
But in a healthy context.
Right.
In a healthy context. My faith tells me that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And the apple of God's eye. Yeah? But don't tell me that I should be a Proverbs 31 woman, do everything. Proverbs 31 woman did not live in Canada by herself. She had lots of help. And drivers and servants and employees. She was just a director.
Exactly. And she was able to use the resources to the betterment of our family.
Yes.
Well, I'm in Canada, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I work. I have to come home and clean the house, and then you tell me to be God.
But I think we can have, we just need to make sure that we put everything in a healthy context, in context.
The perspective,
family is very important. But if you die for your family
will keep going.
That means that your family wasn't that important in the first place.
Wow.
Because you need to be alive to be part of an important family.
Yeah. So don't die for them, live for them.
Live for them. So that you can see them grow up and take care of them. Not for your children to end up being raised by someone who doesn't care about them.
If you love your family, don't die for them. Live for them. Friday night mix. Glammy. I feel you. Quick question, Ma. Why and how did you choose the name Ruth's House?
Yeah.
Oh,
Abakoku.
No. Not that one.
Not in that context.
Not, that's what we over spiritualize things. But let me tell you, there's so many people around in my life that are bearing the name Ruth. My youngest daughter is called Ruth, but it's not named after her. It's actually, when I was thinking about the name and where we were in the country, Ruth left her country, left her culture, her community, left everything she had, moved to another country. Nobody. She had no resources, no support on anything. She struggled with her relationships. She struggled with her finances. She struggled with everything. But God made a way for her in that country.
That's right.
And so everyone that comes to Ruth's house for help who are struggling, the same way that God made a way for Ruth, and her latter days were better than her former days, Ruth's house offers you that same opportunity for you to have, for you to have a better tomorrow than a bitter past.
Mm.
I
Mm.
like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
I love that. That's I knew there was something behind the name.
Yeah, I'm a
Very
pastor.
Yeah,
profound. Very
yes,
profound.
yeah. And that was like I was gonna ask a question. Lami, you have any question before? I have so many questions. Though. Leave
You
me.
know that it's question that this kind of subjects. I love it.
It's
I
very,
love
very important, and I
Don't
wish people
try
can.
me.
I wish people would watch this episode because there's a lot to glean from it. There's a lot to learn, and I know people are going through issues in life, and they just don't want to. I mean, some people would stay at work long just because they want to avoid their wife at home, or stay alone, just because they want to avoid their husband, and people are living at home as if they are just co-inhabitants, right? There's no love, there's no romance, there's no, and all of that. So
Yeah.
it's important that we get back into having a healthy home as human beings, and also raising the right kind of children
That's
in
right.
the home also.
That's
Judith Nana Otu says, Pastor D.
Ah, my baby, my baby.
Yeah, and Agbajowo, like this name really tripped me when I saw it. I think it's a group, Agbajowo, and you see that they also say, "Good job, Lady K." I don't know, are you called Lady K, Pastor D?
No, no.
Or maybe she's saying this is Lady K. Okay, I guess probably saying her name is Lady
Oh,
K.
I know Lady K.
You know
Yes.
Lady K, right?
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Fantastic.
As a pastor, a mother,
It's
a
my turn
wife.
now.
Oh, sorry, no
Besides,
verse.
last question, I've taken over. What's the meaning of that?
No verse. Don't be vexing. It's not good.
Okay.
Don't do domestic violence for me, please.
Ah, ah. But that's another thing. Our people are so afraid that everything is domestic violence, everything is domestic abuse, everything is called the police. You go from one extreme to the other.
Right. And it's
I'm
true.
telling you, it's true.
It's true.
We
It's
can
true.
have a disagreement where even voices are raised, right? I mean, no words should not be exchanged, like abusive words, but you could have
Yeah, yeah,
disagreements, right?
yeah.
Where my voice is very loud. So sometimes
Yeah,
if
we
I'm
know.
talking,
We
sometimes
know. Yeah.
you can even think I'm angry. Like I've been when I first came to Canada, the white man had to come to we went out like, is everything all right?
I
Yeah,
know,
we're just arguing football, and it's just we're shouting and screaming, and so voices can be raised, right?
Yeah.
But it shouldn't get to even saying. I'm always very careful with the words I use.
right?
I'm
Yeah.
always and then of course nothing physical, right? Also, but you can. That's not domestic violence, right? So yeah, let me go ahead.
Hopefully not. One of the things I love that you talked about, you described even scenarios of abuses that people don't pay attention to.
Mm.
You know, when you talk about physical abuse, it's kind of easy because sometimes you see the scars, you see the marks, you see sometimes they're not things you can hide except for situations where the assailant is very smart. I hear of people who kind of physically abuse their spouses or children in such a way that in areas where you can't easily see those
Max.
scars. But that aside, which is hopefully there's a lot to deal with. You also talked about other kind of abuses, emotional abuse and all of that. And you said the assailant should ask rather for help. But there's a way that abuses mess with the mind.
Mm.
And I know
Psychology.
it was one of the things you talked about, last time when we're having, you talked about how the sense of self-worth. And then you described a situation where you had to 6 months, you said, listening to the word of God every morning. And
Mm.
that was what changed who you were. You started to see yourself in a different light.
Mm.
That was a process. That was therapy, if you will. So how then, because what happens when somebody cannot see the light? You know, I remember I was having a conversation with my mom once, and we're talking about someone. I was like, I said the person is blind. How do you tell a blind man that stuff is blue? He can't see it.
Can't say it.
You know,
Yeah.
so how do you help people get to that place where they actually accept that they need help? Before we even talk about accepting the help, well, how do you do that as a community?
I think, sometimes people that are living in a situation don't know that they're in a situation that is toxic, that is dangerous, because they become immune to it. It's, it's like, living in a place and you get used to the smell of that place, that you don't even know that place smells until somebody comes with a different nose, and they'll be like, "This place smells of fish," and you're like, "What? No, it
It's true.
doesn't."
It's true.
When we build immunity to certain things around us that we just accept as norm, we normalize things, and so we don't. After a while, we don't see it as abuse. The person, they shout all the time. After a while, that shouting just becomes normal to you. Yeah. The verbal abuse, the name calling, it becomes normal to you. Yeah. Oh, that's just how he shows me he loves me. That's just how she shows me she loves me.
It's
Because
true.
after, something happened at work, that's why they're behaving that way.
Right.
you know there are so as an outsider, when we see this thing, when somebody comes into my office and they tell me, "Oh, my wife and I are going through challenges, and we need help," or I hear certain things, now people come to me everywhere. I'll be at a party, "Can I talk to you for a few minutes?" you
Wow.
know and I'll have to say, "Okay, just book a time in my office," because you can't have conversations like this at parties. You now hear their story, and you're like, and they're justifying things. I'm like, "Sweetie, this is not healthy. This is not right. I'm sure he loves you. But do you know that there are different ways of showing love?"
Right.
So, can you tell me, has this always happened from the very first day you met? "Oh, no, she was different. Oh, no, he was different." I'm like, "Sweetie, if things have changed, it means that things are no longer in a healthy place and you guys need help. I'm sure there are circumstances around it, but from an outsider, I know you guys love each other, but I think there are things that needs to be done to make your love stronger." So you never point out the negative things and say, "Ah, your husband is wicked. Don't let him talk to you like that. I see the way he talks to you. Or I see the way your wife treats you." That's going to make people defensive.
Right. Right.
But if you come from a place of, "Ah, you guys look so good together," I think but I see that there are ways that you guys can, your love, I would like to have it, but in a higher level, and make them see things in a positive way than a judgmental way, and ask questions that, "Oh my God, have you guys always behaved like this since the day you met each other?" Get them to think and get them to own it and come up with their own their own ideas of what went wrong. You are not there to point things out, because then it'll be like, "Lami said that you are abusing me."
I didn't say. I didn't say.
That me. You said it. I,
But do you understand
I,
what I mean?
Right.
yes,
Right.
yeah.
Get them to see it and take ownership for it, and point it out in a way that is positive, not making them feel as if that, not making them feel worse about
Worse.
themselves.
Mm, mm. Man, I don't know. It's looking like we're bringing her back again.
Ah,
Honestly, it's
Powerful nuggets there. So one of our listeners is asking, please, what's spiritual abuse?
I
hey,
heard that say, which I was curious. So
Kindly elaborate.
okay. Spiritual abuse is
Mm,
Lami. I'm in a we're in a relationship, and my husband, before we got married, "Oh, you can go to church, you can go to mosque, you can dress or do anything, read your Bible,
mm,
pray, all of that." And then after marriage, well, I
Mm.
only went it because I wanted to marry you. No, we're not
Mm.
going to that church again. No,
True.
I'm not a Christian, I'm a Muslim. Oh, I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Christian. And then I forbid you
Ew.
to go to that church.
True. It's true.
When you stop somebody from practicing their own faith, it becomes spiritual abuse.
Mm.
That's so
When
good.
people use, the holy books, the Bible, the Quran, whatever it is, to control and manipulate you, it is abuse.
Mm.
Spiritual abuse.
Hmm.
Stopping you from practicing your faith. I have a man, I had a client. The man says, my wife loves Jesus more than she loves me. I said, why? He said, because every night between 9 to 5, from midnight or whenever it is, she's on Jerry Eze all night. And then
Wow.
after she's done Jerry Eze, she goes on to NDP or whatever, NLP or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
good.
She's going from
Crazy.
one prayer meeting to prayer meeting
Mm.
all throughout the night.
Mm.
Yeah. And so the guy now says, from now on, no more religion in the house.
Oh.
Okay.
They both went to the extreme ends.
Mm.
So she's now claiming that he's spiritually abusing her because he won't let her go to church or join the prayer meeting. The husband
Mm.
says she is, sexually frustrating him by,
Mm.
Okay.
So when you use your faith to frustrate other people, to
Other people.
prevent them from doing to prevent them from practicing their own faith,
Faith.
is spiritual abuse.
Or you're even using it to stop, to stop other things that you could do in the family. For example, sex. You marry somebody and the person wants to have sex at night, and that's when you say you want to be watching Jerry Eze, watching whatever spiritual.
Yeah.
Like, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong on all
Bella,
levels,
speak
right?
it. Bella.
You get you have to understand where you draw the lines, right? In all those things, you have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you have to.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question: as a pastor, as a mother, as a wife, a community leader, and builder, what are the things that people misunderstand the most about you?
About me.
Yeah, about you.
People think I don't rest.
I think you don't have time for yourself to rest. I think
No, people think that I don't rest, that I work 24
4
hours a
hours.
day. I work 24 hours a day, but I also have a day, maybe every week or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, where I just binge watch Nigerian movies.
Nice, nice one.
And
Self-care is real care.
I'm telling you, I am a Nigerian addict, movie addict. And so I think,
So you can mention 5 Nigerian actors.
there's only one. There's only the favorite one of mine. It has to be Blossom Chukwe. My pronunciations are terrible.
I know him. I know him.
Chukwe Jeku or something like that.
Yeah.
I love him. I love him to bits. I watch all his movies, good or bad.
Oh, nice.
I love RMD, Daddy, the godfather of Nigerian movies.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And then, I do like a few other people, but I do rest and you have to be able to do the work that I do. It's important to not, be so focused on it.
Mhm.
It's not my job to save your marriage, to save you from domestic violence.
That's very
It's not my
that
job.
is very
That's your job.
that's
Your
very
job is to save yourself. Mine is to come alongside of you and just hold your hands and help you cross over.
Please, can you say that again, please? Please, just for the sake of.
No, it's not anybody's job to save anybody. I'm not the one you're sleeping with in the bed. I'm not the one living with you. I'm gonna go home to my home. It's your life is your own, and it's up to you to save it if it's worth saving. Our job as a community, as friends, as colleagues, as resources, is to hold your hands through that difficult time. I don't know if you know this poem called Footprints.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
There's a poem called Footprints. The woman, male or female, they're always walking in the sand. They see two sets of prints, theirs and God.
Mm.
Everything is going really
Right.
well.
Rosie.
And then during difficult times, they only see one set of
Yeah,
prints.
yeah.
And then the guy was like, "Hey, what's going on? Why is it that when I'm having problems, I only see one set of prints?" And God says, "That's when I carry you."
That's
That's
right.
right. That's right.
You know,
Yeah, I
it's
remember.
God's job to carry you through your difficulties. He just uses people like me, like you, like Fola, to guide you through it. But it's not our job to make decisions for you. We don't make decisions for people. We don't tell people to leave their husbands, leave their wives,
I'll
leave their
stay.
families. We never.
Mm.
That's not our job. Because
Mm.
you're not coming to stay in my house,
Mm.
and you can't
Do-
say Pastor D says to leave my husband.
Mm.
Very well
Mm.
said. And
Mm.
I want to just segue or ride, if you will, on what Fuller asked about the misunderstanding, and then I liked what you said about watching movies and just self care. But if there's anything I know, being an emotional intelligence facilitator and coach, is, and that's why I don't do a lot of coaching. I tell you what, because I know that, because as coaches we're sponges, right? You take on, people come tell you their problems, if you will, and you soak it up. Before you know it, you carry on
You are
that
heavy.
energy. If
Mm.
how do you detoxify? I like what you said, because you have this healthy boundary. You understand your place,
Mm.
in
Yes.
that situation. That you can't, so you probably won't get frustrated if it doesn't change, because that all you do is guide. But other than that, there's some stories you hear,
Mm.
and they just,
They just stick with
they
you.
just, yeah, they kind of, there are times when there's some stories that would maybe consume you, if you will, if you allow it. What do you do? Do you have a coach? When you want
Mm.
to detoxify, how do you do it?
Mm.
I think maybe because I've been doing this work for 30 years.
Mm,
You have tea.
So for 30 years,
Wow.
I don't carry people's burdens.
mm,
I've never done it. I'm not that kind of person. Once
Mm.
we're done here, we're done.
mm,
Mm.
And I teach my staff that never take anybody's burden home with you. When you leave the office, you leave everything behind. Because if it do, it will break you.
Mm.
You have got to create boundaries around yourself to protect yourself. My job is to help you as far as I can. And if I can't, I'm not going to, I don't want to I don't want to use the word lose sleep over it. But
mm,
at the end of the day, as long as I do my damn best to protect you,
Mm.
to give you the resources, I'm going to trust you to do what is right for you.
Mm.
Even if it means you going back to that place of abuse, when you are ready
You're
to
ready.
get help, you will get out. It takes 7 attempts for someone to leave an abusive
mm.
relationship.
You said so.
I'm not going to say, hey, she didn't leave. Yeah, I can't sleep. I'm panicking. I'm stressing. No, as long as I do my job to provide what you need for when you are ready, that put that
Mm.
safety plan in place for you, give you the resources, that support that you need, whether as a man or a woman or as a family, my darling, my job is done.
Hmm.
And then I'm
Beautiful.
going to go home and I'm not going to remember this conversation. Because if I remember 20 conversation I had today, I would end up in a mental institution. So I teach my staff
Mm.
the best gift as I can give you as my staff, as my team, when you're done with that client and they leave your office or you put the phone down, that is it. Case
Mm.
closed, move to the next person. When they come back, you pick it up again. But never hold on to people in your heart, in your spirit. Don't let people's situation occupy your mind
Mm.
or destroy you.
How are you even going to be able to help the next person if you allow the person with this initial body, right? You won't be ready to help someone else, right? I mean, we're almost at the end of the show, but I have
But
to ask.
can I just leave
Yeah,
you
go
one
ahead.
thing?
Go ahead.
Lami, as a coach as well, we've got to be careful that, when in this job of social work, that we don't allow what we hear, what we see, what we do to now go home and start looking at your partner
Mm.
and saying, and start being suspicious of your partner. Don't carry your work home and treating your partner and your family in a way because it happened to somebody that you're working with. Now I've got to be careful of my children. And then you call a family meeting. If I ever see you do this,
Yeah.
You can't do that. You've got to create that boundaries and let your family be separate to your work.
Let me ask you this.
Wow.
This is on a personal note because we have to end in the next 2-3 minutes. Tell us about. A lot of people don't know that your son play soccer for the Canadian soccer team. Tell us a little bit about that and how that actually impacts your family, because I'm sure he's never going to be around, right? But tell us a little bit about that story. It's a story I like personally. I enjoy, just reading it online. You telling me, because you've told me several times, but I wanted to tell our audience also.
I think my greatest joy in life is my children fulfilling purpose. Whatever it is, it's not what I want for them, but it's what they want for themselves. So whether they are doctors, lawyers, medics, or dancers, or soccer players, as long as they're happy, I'm happy. And I think, my son was 15 years old when he got drafted to play for Vancouver Whitecaps. And it broke me because I'm like, he's not ready to leave home. How am I going to cope? Who's going to teach him to cook? Who's going to take care of him? Both my boys were drafted at the same time. Sam was just before his 16th and Elijah before his 14th birthday. And so they have worked really hard to get themselves to where they are. My greatest joy was being in Qatar and getting to watch him play in the World Cup and cheering for him and seeing his name come up on the big screen. And I was like, there's no greater joy than seeing your son at the highest level, in his field. And even if nothing else ever happens, he's achieved that. And I'll tell you how we got there. Our family were our priorities in life. The one job God gave me to do first was to raise up 5 healthy children. And so before ministry, our children were first. There are many times as pastors, we would close church because they had a soccer game. There are many times that we couldn't do ministry or do certain things because our kids had a tournament or they had to, whatever it is. Our children were first, and we make sure that we'll put them before everything and support them to the level that they got to. And watching him play at that highest level was a dream come true. And I remember I was in Nigeria at the time, and then this video went viral of me screaming, that there's my son. My son is in the World Cup. Yeah. My son is in the World Cup. And, it's a great joy to see your children achieve greater heights than you. That should be every parent's dream. And I would leave one thing with you for everyone that has children. Don't try and make your children into what you want them to be. If their joy is baking, cooking, whatever it is, support them, encourage them, be their cheerleaders. And God can turn any vision, any dream into a reality. And the audience they will reach, you probably will never reach.
Never reach. Deep. Your just to put that out there. Also, your daughter also just started, because I follow you on your on your WhatsApp. I creep. I like, what is Pastor Dee doing now? She's also starting a line. The fashion line, right? And I see the excitement. She just opened it. I see, oh man, you're absolutely correct when you say everything that matters to you is your children. I see how you dote around them, and how you support them, whatever they do.
Even if you don't like it,
Yes, even if you don't like it as a parent, but because you support them and that love, and the beauty about it is they can always come back to you when they're hung up on something, right? They can always know that my mom is there, my dad is there to, I could always seek for advice because you're open-minded. And
That's
a
right.
lot of African parents are not open-minded. If their kids are not doctors or lawyers or whatever it is, then they don't care.
Engineer,
It's like,
engineer, don't forget
it's you know thank you so much. Please give us this answer to this question before you go. Bolu says she is guessing that people mix you up for a feminist. Like they think you're a feminist because the way you fight
People used to think that I'm a feminist because I fight for women.
for
But
women.
now I see that a lot of women think that I'm too pro men.
You can never satisfy human beings.
Because I'm always emphasizing on the needs for men's help, the needs for men's shelter, the need for men's therapy. And I always say it's because there's a lot of support for women, but men are dying slowly.
True.
And I have 2 boys. I want my son to be able to access help if they ever need it.
If they ever need it.
I have brothers. And so we need to advocate for men. And yes, I used to be called a feminist because I was pro women. But as people have gotten to know me, they're like, no, I'm not a feminist. I'm pro family. I'm pro healthy, safe family, even if it means being separated and divorced. As long as the family is healthy and they're safe, that's all I'm for.
Pastor D, no worry, we won't bring you back now. Not now. But Lami, I don't know if you have the last word before we go.
I feel like the next thing I want to ask her about, like when we bring her back, we want to go into parenting because
No worry,
honestly, we will at some point. It's not immediate, but because you've done ministry for 30 years, you've raised children for a long time, 5 kids, healthy kids, 3 of them thriving in their careers. We don't even know what to expect.
All 5 of them are.
All 5 of them, okay, because we only mentioned 3 here. But the point we want to talk, and you're pro family, so we want to talk about family. Maybe the next time we'll bring you on, the sacrifices you made and all of those important stuff. I feel like we'll bring you back because there's so much to learn from you. But we're grateful that you honored us a second time, back to back, maybe with 1 week in the middle, but still back to back. But thank you so much, Ma.
Pastor D, what's the last word for us before we go? Go.
Life is worth living, so live. Don't die for people.
And life is what? A living just because we live. That's powerful. Thank you, Pastor D. From Oluwayomi Baiwatole, who happens to be my wife. She's saying thank you.
Thank you for letting us know.
She's saying thank you on the show. Bolu is saying thank you. I know in his mind is saying thank you. All the every guest on this show and people who are going to watch again, they're saying thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all you do for the community. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, when are you going to run for office? Well, no time. When you come back, when you come back again, which is going to be soon, not now, but it's going to be soon. We definitely will get into that. Thank you so much, and do have a pleasant weekend. Bye.